My beloved child, even before you found this message, quiet movements had already begun around your story, and that is why this moment feels strangely familiar. Not because you have heard these words before, but because your heart has been searching for an answer it could never fully explain. There is something unfolding beneath the surface that deserves your full attention. Don't skip. Not because of urgency, but because every sentence carries a small piece of what you have been trying to understand. Stay till the end, something important is waiting for you, and it will make the beginning feel completely different. You have been wondering why the energy between you and your soulmate has changed. At times they seem warm, then unexpectedly distant. They care deeply, yet something quietly holds them back. The answer is more gentle than your imagination has suggested. Their heart is not struggling because they have stopped caring. Their heart is trying to understand a story that was never fully explained to them. There have been conversations, small observations, and silent moments involving your family that created questions instead of clarity. No one intended for those questions to become walls, yet walls can grow from misunderstandings just as easily as they can from words. What makes this even more surprising is that your soulmate has been protecting their feelings more than expressing them. They have replayed certain moments repeatedly, wondering if they misunderstood what they saw, wondering whether your silence meant agreement or simply uncertainty. They never wanted to judge you by someone else's actions, yet emotions are not always guided by logic. Sometimes the people connected to us create echoes that reach farther than we expect. Those echoes have touched their heart, but they have never become the whole truth. And here is the part that changes everything. Your soulmate has never truly been angry with who you are. Their disappointment has been directed toward the confusion surrounding situations they could not fully understand. There is an important difference between questioning circumstances and questioning a person's heart. They still sense the kindness within you. They still remember the version of you that felt genuine, peaceful, and impossible to forget. That memory has quietly refused to disappear, even during moments when doubt became louder than hope. Perhaps you have also carried questions that remained hidden. Perhaps you wondered why certain conversations suddenly became shorter, why certain emotions seemed harder to reach, or why everything felt almost right but never completely settled. Sometimes the missing piece is not another conversation. Sometimes it is simply understanding that every person carries incomplete information until the right moment arrives. What feels like distance today may actually be patience waiting for truth to catch up. Listen closely, because this next realization is easy to miss. The truth your soulmate has been searching for is not hidden inside dramatic events. It is hidden inside ordinary moments that were misunderstood. A glance. A silence. A family interaction. A sentence spoken without full context. These tiny pieces slowly formed a picture that never completely matched reality. Yet somewhere deep inside, they have continued hoping that one final piece would appear and reveal what they have been unable to see. Do you notice how your heart became quieter while hearing these words? That quietness matters. It is often the place where understanding begins. Not through rushing. Not through forcing answers. But through allowing hidden pieces to gently find their place. Something meaningful is still unfolding, and what seems uncertain today may soon become surprisingly clear. Stay till the end of this journey, because what has remained hidden is beginning to move into the light. The next part reveals the unexpected moment that caused your soulmate to question everything they believed about your family, and the discovery waiting there may become the turning point neither of you saw coming. There are moments when everything appears calm on the outside, yet beneath that silence an entirely different story is taking shape. This is one of those moments. Your soulmate has reached a place where assumptions no longer feel satisfying. They have begun looking beyond appearances, beyond passing conversations, and beyond the opinions that once seemed convincing. Don't skip, because what happens next is the quiet turning point that changes the direction of their heart. Stay till the end. Something important is waiting for you that connects every unanswered question. For a long time, they believed that if your family acted a certain way, then perhaps you quietly agreed with everything they did. It was never spoken aloud, but the thought settled deep within them. They carried it carefully, hoping they were mistaken, yet never finding enough certainty to let it go. Each new interaction seemed to repeat the same puzzle. Every smile felt incomplete. Every silence seemed to hide another missing piece. What they did not realize was that your silence often came from protecting peace, not from supporting misunderstanding. Then something unexpected happened. Not through a dramatic confrontation, not through an emotional confession, but through a simple conversation that almost went unnoticed. Someone close to your family spoke naturally, unaware that a single honest sentence would begin changing everything. It was not planned. It was not rehearsed. Yet those few words carried more truth than months of guessing ever could. Your soulmate listened carefully, and for the first time, they noticed a difference between your heart and the environment around you. They realized that you had been carrying responsibilities that were never truly yours. They saw moments where you chose kindness instead of conflict, patience instead of argument, understanding instead of pride. Suddenly, memories they had almost forgotten began returning one after another. They remembered the compassion in your voice, the sincerity in your actions, and the quiet strength that always appeared when others needed it most. That realization brought an emotion they were not expecting. The frustration they had quietly held was no longer directed toward you. Instead, they became disappointed that they had allowed confusion to speak louder than the truth they had already witnessed with their own eyes. It is never easy to admit when the heart has misunderstood someone precious. Yet that is exactly where they now find themselves. Perhaps this explains why the energy between you has begun shifting in ways you cannot quite describe. Have you noticed small signs that seem different? A longer pause before they leave. A glance that lingers just a little more. A feeling that they want to say something but choose silence instead. Those are not empty moments. They are the quiet language of someone rearranging everything they once believed. The most remarkable part has not even arrived yet. While your soulmate has been sorting through these emotions, another hidden truth has slowly started revealing itself. They have begun recognizing that someone around your family has been protecting a story that should have been shared long ago. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear that speaking openly would create even greater misunderstanding. What remained hidden was never meant to stay hidden forever. Take a moment and breathe in this thought. Sometimes healing begins long before anyone says the right words. It begins the instant a person becomes willing to question their own assumptions. Your soulmate has reached that place. Their heart is no longer searching for reasons to stay distant. It is searching for reasons to understand you more deeply than ever before. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next chapter reveals the conversation your soulmate never expected to hear, a conversation that uncovers why your family remained silent for so long, and why that silence is about to take on a completely different meaning. Sometimes the greatest shift does not arrive with loud words or dramatic moments. It arrives quietly, almost unnoticed, until one simple realization begins connecting every unanswered question. This is where the story turns once again. Stay till the end, because what your soulmate is beginning to understand reaches far deeper than either of you imagined. Don't skip, every piece now builds toward the truth that has been waiting patiently to be seen. Your soulmate has started looking back at the past through different eyes. The memories that once brought confusion now feel different. Moments they once interpreted as distance suddenly appear as quiet acts of protection. They remember times when you seemed ready to speak, yet chose silence instead. At first, they believed that silence meant uncertainty. Now they wonder if it was actually your way of keeping peace inside a situation that felt far more complicated than anyone realized. As these thoughts continue to unfold, another unexpected feeling has entered their heart. Curiosity has slowly replaced frustration. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" they have begun asking, "What was I unable to see?" That single question has opened a door they never expected to walk through. Sometimes the heart changes not because someone convinces it to change, but because it becomes willing to listen differently. One evening, while reflecting on everything that had happened, your soulmate remembered a conversation that once seemed completely ordinary. At the time, those words carried no special meaning. But now, with new understanding, they sounded entirely different. Someone had quietly hinted that your family had been carrying unspoken concerns for a long time, not about your character, but about circumstances that were difficult to explain. Those concerns were never intended to create distance between you and your soulmate. Yet without the full picture, they accidentally created exactly that. The more your soulmate reflected, the more they recognized something they had overlooked from the very beginning. Every time your family became protective or unusually cautious, you never responded with bitterness. You remained thoughtful. You continued showing kindness even when situations became uncomfortable. That consistency has become impossible for them to ignore. People can misunderstand words, but it is much harder to misunderstand a heart that continues choosing grace over and over again. This realization has brought a quiet sense of regret. Not because they stopped caring about you, but because they now see how easy it is for incomplete stories to shape complete emotions. They wish they had asked more questions instead of filling the empty spaces with assumptions. They wish they had trusted the person they came to know instead of the uncertainty surrounding them. These thoughts have stayed with them longer than they expected, and they are beginning to change the way they see your entire connection. Have you noticed how certain relationships seem to survive even after confusion enters them? There is a reason for that. Genuine connection does not disappear simply because clarity is delayed. It waits. It remains patient. It quietly holds space for understanding to arrive. That is exactly what has been happening here. Beneath every unanswered question, the bond between you has continued growing in ways neither of you could fully measure. Something important is waiting for you, because your soulmate is now standing at the edge of a decision. They no longer want to carry uncertainty where honesty belongs. They no longer want hidden pieces to remain scattered between both of your hearts. They feel that the truth deserves its own voice, and for the first time, they believe that voice may finally be ready to speak. The next part reveals the unexpected person who gently breaks the silence. A conversation your soulmate never planned to have, yet one that begins uncovering the hidden truth your family has quietly carried all along, changing the direction of this story once again. A quiet beginning often carries the greatest turning points, and this next moment arrives so gently that it could easily be overlooked. Yet if it had never happened, your soulmate might have continued believing a story that was never complete. Stay till the end. Because the meaning behind this conversation becomes far more powerful than the conversation itself. Don't skip, the smallest details are about to reveal the biggest answers. Without expecting anything unusual, your soulmate found themselves speaking with someone who had known your family for much longer than they had. It was not a planned discussion about you. Your name appeared naturally, almost as if it had quietly been waiting for the right moment to enter the conversation. There was no tension, no accusation, only calm reflection. But sometimes calm voices carry the deepest truths. As they listened, one sentence stood out more than every other word. You have only seen one chapter of that family. There are many pages you have never read. Those words stayed with your soulmate long after the conversation ended. They realized they had been trying to understand an entire story while holding only a few scattered pieces. Suddenly, everything that once felt confusing no longer seemed impossible to explain. For the first time, they understood that your family had been carrying responsibilities and private challenges that were rarely visible to anyone outside. Those experiences shaped how they communicated, how they protected one another, and even how they responded during important moments. None of this changed who you were. In fact, it highlighted something your soulmate had quietly admired from the very beginning. Despite everything surrounding you, you continued choosing patience over frustration, kindness over resentment, and hope over disappointment. That realization settled deeply within their heart. They began remembering all the moments when you tried to make others feel comfortable, even while carrying your own unspoken emotions. They remembered your calm responses when misunderstandings appeared. They remembered how you rarely asked anyone to take your side. Looking back now, those memories shine brighter than ever before. Have you ever noticed how truth often arrives in layers rather than all at once? The first layer removes confusion. The second restores understanding. But the final layer changes the heart completely. Your soulmate has already stepped beyond the first two. They are beginning to see you not through the actions of others, but through the consistency of your own character. That difference changes everything. The quiet disappointment they once carried has softened into compassion. They no longer feel distant because of unanswered questions. Instead, they feel closer to discovering the person they always believed you were. They understand now that families, like every human story, can be beautifully complex. One difficult season should never define an entire life, and one misunderstanding should never define a genuine connection. Something important is waiting for you because another realization has quietly entered their thoughts. They have begun wondering how many times you carried burdens that were never yours to explain. How many moments did you smile while protecting someone else's peace? How many conversations did you quietly step away from because you believed love was stronger than proving yourself right? Those questions have stayed with them, and every answer they imagine brings them closer to understanding your heart. As these reflections continue, a quiet sense of admiration is beginning to replace every remaining doubt. They are no longer searching for reasons to pull away. They are searching for the courage to bridge the distance that confusion once created. What they are preparing to discover next is not another misunderstanding. It is the hidden intention behind your silence, the one truth that has remained untouched until now, waiting for exactly the right moment to be understood. And when that truth finally comes into the light, your soulmate will realize that everything they once believed about your family was only the surface of a much deeper story. A story that is about to reveal the one person who has quietly been protecting your happiness all along. The ending of this journey does not arrive with loud applause or dramatic revelations. It arrives the way the most meaningful truths often do, with a quiet understanding that changes everything from within. Stay till the end, because the final piece has been waiting for this exact moment. Don't skip. What your soulmate finally sees is not only the truth about your family, but the truth about you. As time continued to unfold, one last conversation brought every scattered piece together. It did not erase the past, nor did it pretend that misunderstandings had never existed. Instead, it offered something far more valuable: clarity. Your soulmate finally understood that the silence surrounding your family had never been an attempt to push them away. It was simply the result of people carrying emotions they did not always know how to express. Some protected memories. Others avoided difficult conversations. And in the middle of it all, you quietly carried more than anyone realized. That was the moment everything changed. The frustration your soulmate had once held dissolved into respect. They recognized that while others were focused on explaining situations, you had been focused on protecting relationships. While others became caught in assumptions, you continued choosing compassion. They realized your strength was never found in proving yourself right. It was found in remaining true to your heart, even when no one fully understood it. A gentle smile crossed their face as memory after memory returned. They remembered your kindness that never asked for recognition. They remembered your patience during uncertain moments. They remembered how naturally you made others feel valued, even when you quietly carried your own questions. Suddenly, they saw a pattern they had missed before. The person they had admired from the beginning had never changed. Only their perspective had. Perhaps this is the message your own heart needed to hear today. Not every season of confusion is a sign that love has disappeared. Sometimes it is simply the space where understanding is still growing. Real connections are not built because two lives are perfect. They are built because two hearts continue choosing honesty, grace, and hope, even after uncertainty has visited them. Something important has been waiting for you throughout this entire journey. It is this simple realization: your value has never been determined by someone else's misunderstanding. The goodness within you has remained constant through every unanswered question, every quiet moment, and every season that seemed slower than you expected. The right understanding arrives when people become willing to see beyond appearances, and that is exactly what your soulmate has begun to do. As they look toward the future, they no longer see your family as the center of the story. They see you. They see your character, your consistency, your gentle spirit, and the quiet resilience that has always guided your steps. They understand that every family has chapters filled with growth, lessons, and healing, but a person's heart deserves to be known for its own light. And perhaps that is why this message found you today. Not to convince you that every answer appears overnight, but to remind you that truth has a quiet way of revealing itself at the right time. Hearts that are willing to listen eventually hear what confusion could never explain. Understanding replaces assumption. Peace replaces uncertainty. And hope quietly finds its way back. So leave this moment carrying one thought with you: the strongest connections are not the ones that never face misunderstanding. They are the ones that choose understanding when the opportunity finally arrives. Your story is still unfolding, your heart is still growing, and what lies ahead is not defined by hidden questions from the past, but by the honesty, kindness, and quiet faith that continue to guide every step forward.